Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. As you know, President Biden, there he is. What's up? President Biden has been conducting meetings with both Republicans and Democrats to try and sell the infrastructure package. He has many other individuals within the administration helping him push this infrastructure package. We have the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who's helping the president. We have the director of the White House Economic Council, Brian Deese, who's helping the president. We have the United States Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg. There he is. What's up, Pete? All of these individuals are helping President Biden to sell the infrastructure package in addition to Vice President Kamala Harris. What's up, Vice President? So all of these individuals are helping the president. So one thing the president did was meet with several Republican senators in the past 24 hours. One of these Republican senators, the Mississippi Republican Senator Roger Wicker, actually highlighted what happened during the meeting in an interview with Larry Kudlow on Fox. So this is a very interesting exchange where the Republican senator from Mississippi, Roger Wicker, tells Larry Kudlow that a lot of lawmakers are indeed in favor of improving infrastructure as long as it's a scaled down package. And some new details about this meeting that essentially took place between President Biden and several Republican senators in the White House that again involved many Republican senators, including Senator Roger Wicker from Mississippi. Let's take a look at some highlights of this meeting where Senator Wicker essentially gives us an overview of the meeting. He says infrastructure should be scaled back, and he does tell us that there are many differences. There's a lot of areas of disagreement between the two sides, but they can come to some sort of a consensus if the president is open to scaling back the program and using existing programs. Let's roll the tape and hear from Senator Roger Wicker from Mississippi, the Republican, who was in a conversation with the president just recently. Let's watch.
President Biden meeting today with a bipartisan group of lawmakers from both the House and the Senate. The president now signaling he's willing to negotiate on how to pay for his massive infrastructure proposal. Our next guest was in that meeting today with the president. Joining us now, Senator Roger Wicker from Mississippi. Great friend. Senator, thank you for coming on. What's your report on this meeting? What's your take?
Well, Larry, thanks for having me on. You got a good show.
Thank you.
Do you want the pluses first or the minuses?
I want the Wicker special.
Well, of course, it is a massive program, and I did tell the president that he's got a very hard sell on raising the corporate tax rate, and I said that I viewed that 2017 tax bill as one of our signature legislative achievements. It's probably the most important bill I've ever voted for, and I think it's responsible for us having 3.5% unemployment and really great economic news right up until the COVID-19 pandemic hit us. So I made that point. Of course, he's still sticking with that, and he is. He continues to go back to these 50 or 60 corporations who don't pay any taxes. And I said, well, look, let's talk about tax reform and let's find those corporations and make sure they pay their fair share. But what you're wanting to do is tax small business job creators. And that's who I've been hearing from the last couple of weeks about this. Also, I told him the pro-labor union healthcare part is a non-starter. The good news, Larry, is that a lot of us want to do better this year on infrastructure than we have before. I'm for a big infrastructure bill, and I think the Republican conference would be for it also. And we agreed: roads, bridges, ports, airports, rail. Those are all infrastructure, and we had a nice conversation about broadband, and I think building that out is absolutely, it belongs in an infrastructure bill. So there was a lot that we agreed on. I think to the extent he wants to give broadband to government entities, that's a very bad idea.
Right.
What we need to do is incentivize the private sector.
That's right.
So those are the pluses and minuses. It was an hour and 40 minutes. The president was very engaged. He heard from all of us, 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans, and so we've got some work to do. But if he'll scale it back we may be able to. Another thing, Larry, we can use existing programs, and we don't need to forget the role of the states. I mean, when we do highway and bridge spending, we don't dictate that from Washington, D.C. We provide money to the states for them to do according to the way their Department of Transportation and legislative bodies have decided. So I think we made a good many points. There's a lot of space between us also.
Now, if you folks have been following the news, the president conducted a meeting in the White House with 10 Republican senators shortly after the inauguration. This meeting had a lot of kumbaya moments, but basically the Republicans complained that the president and the administration went their own way after that and just did the American Rescue Plan on their own. So the big question now is, what is the next step? What is the White House going to do? Are they going to speak with the Republican senators? And when Roger Wicker was asked about this, he said the next step is for both sides to continue working together, and there is a meeting scheduled next week. So hopefully, folks, there is some agreement between the two sides. I can tell you, for me, it's not about the red or the blue, it's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I'm American. We are all Americans first. I believe the best ideas come about and the country moves forward when the Republicans and the Democrats work together, and when we get the best ideas from both sides. Let's check out this segment where the Mississippi Senator Roger Wicker gives us an idea of what lies ahead. Let's roll the tape and hear from the senator.
Did anyone bring up the issue of permitting, which thus far I have not heard from the Bidens? You know, cutting the time on permitting is so important, Senator Wicker. As you well know, you've been in the thick of this discussion for quite some time. That's one issue. And the second thing I'd like to know is, did you all schedule a second meeting? Because that's what was lacking on the COVID rescue package. They had one meeting, and that was enough for Democrats to say bipartisan, but they never talked to that gang again.
We did not specifically talk about permitting, but you put your finger on a very important issue. Once we decide on infrastructure, oftentimes something can be tied up by the Sierra Club and the courts for a long, long time. And also we've had problems with some local governments sort of holding up the process for a bigger fee. There will be other meetings. There will be a meeting next week with different members of Congress. For some reason, I just got in this first group. But there will be follow-up conversations, according to the president, tomorrow between his staff and my staff on some of the issues we talked about.
Well, that's promising. Look, you're right. The time is ripe for a good infrastructure package.
That's
We're
right.
Probably overdue. I agree with you, Senator. But on the other hand, social welfare and housing and unionization and Medicare and Medicaid and aid to immigrants, illegal immigrants, just seems to me we should talk about those issues, but not in an infrastructure package.
If he wants to have a discussion about that, we'll engage the American people on that, and I think my side will come out pretty good on those.
Now, one guy that's not happy, and I've rarely seen him happy, is Senator Ted Cruz, a Republican from Texas. In this rather interesting segment, Ted Cruz takes a shot at corporate America and says this woke corporate America is based on lies, and he has some comments about the new voting bill that the Democrats are trying to push through as well. Let's roll the tape and hear from the one and only, the Republican Senator Ted Cruz, the Republican from Texas. Let's watch.
And they should stop engaging in dishonest politics. This woke corporate America is based on lies. It's based on being conscripted in to the Democrats' effort to pass H.R. 1, the Corrupt Politicians Act. This is about seizing control of democracy so that only Democrats can be elected.
And there's one guy, John Boehner, the former House Speaker. Folks, a powerful Republican, John Boehner, the former House Speaker, essentially not a big fan of Ted Cruz. And he said Ted Cruz is, I quote, Lucifer in the flesh. Yup, he said that. Some of the stuff that's going on in D.C., I can tell you that it is more than an episode of the D.C. Comedy Hour. Just unbelievable. Yup, it's the DC Comedy Hour. It's Cruz versus Boehner again. Let's roll the tape and hear from the one and only former House Speaker, the Republican, John Boehner. Let's watch.
You're hard on Ted Cruz in this book.
You mean Lucifer? You mean Lucifer in the flesh?
Yes, and that's a lot of flesh for Lucifer to fill out there. In the audiobook, you say, do we have this? Do we have this audio? Can we play this, Jim?
Take it from me. You'll never know where you'll end up. That's freedom. I'll raise a glass to that any day. P.S. Ted Cruz, go yourself.
Now,
Yep.
That's it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you had an aha moment from this video. What an interesting interaction involving Ted Cruz and former House Speaker John Boehner, and comments from Roger Wicker, the Republican from Mississippi. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. That really helps out the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.